Welcome to the Tesla Economist. Please hit the thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. Mark Twain said, "History doesn't repeat, but it rhymes." In other words, we've seen disruption like this before. It's known as creative destruction, coined by the highly regarded Austrian economist Joseph Schumpeter. Now, the closest history that I can think of that resembles disruption like this in the past is one that I'm quite familiar with. Back in the day, there used to be a couple of dozen or so search engines. We also had a term, major search engines, which referred to Excite, Yahoo, AltaVista, Ask Jeeves, and many more. Eventually, Google came out and disrupted them all. Of course, as they were all digital products, it played out so much faster. Right now, we're seeing something similar, and we have a dozen or so car manufacturers. So let's explore what happened and see if we can closely resemble what we're dealing with in EV technology and see how much it might rhyme with what happened in the search industry, and if it will follow the same inevitable fate. Larry Page and Sergey Brin were obviously doing everything they could to make the most accurate search results and delivering them to visitors at the most efficient speed possible. Their core competency was known as PageRank, and this was the technology they used to rank websites so accurately. Just like Tesla are doing now, finding a way to make the best possible EV with the longest range at the most affordable price. They both had by far the most superior product in the market. On top of that, neither of them needed to advertise. That's right, Google never spent any money on advertising either. The product spoke for itself. Eventually Google monetized with the AdWords advertising network, which is known as pay-per-click. It instantly made them highly profitable, especially compared to their remaining competition, who were still yet to make a profit. Just like Tesla, now are highly profitable when it comes to their EVs, and their competition struggled to make any profit. Yes, everyone, trust me, Tesla's cars are highly profitable, even without tax credits, if you exclude all the reinvesting they do in growing the business and any other accounting distractions. Like I said, Google's competition were not making a profit. I don't even recall that Yahoo had turned a profit at this stage yet either. It was now clear that Google's business model was the way a search engine should work. Google actually didn't invent pay-per-click advertising. That was a company called GoTo.com, later renamed to Overture. But it was clear this was the advertising model that search engines needed. In fact, because Overture was making a profit, I actually bought some shares in them in the early stages. As all these other search engines were failing so much with their business models, Overture bought out quite a few of them. It meant they could send more traffic to their pay-per-click advertisers. Eventually, Yahoo had no choice but to purchase Overture. They needed the technology and the extensive network of advertisers Overture offered. As a result, I think I about doubled my money on my Overture shares in under a year due to the buyout. But Yahoo still didn't have their own search engine. They were using a third party provided by the company Inktomi. Yahoo actually ended up using Google search results for a while, until they decided to be independent and ended up buying out Inktomi too. In other words, a lot of the major search engines were all consolidated, and the actual technology was acquired by purchasing third-party companies. It was only the brand that Yahoo had left, along with an extensive base of loyal visitors. Is this starting to sound somewhat familiar to anything we have today? We have all these auto companies scrambling to find their position in the EV market. Now, in the current economic climate, autos are still selling well, but it's a cyclical business. When the tide comes out, sales will be down, as will profits. When this happens, how are they also going to afford to transition to EVs when the market turns? It will wipe them out, just like when the dot-com bubble burst and crashed all the other search engines. There are only two large private passenger auto companies, Volkswagen and Toyota. Volkswagen already has a collection of various auto brands. It could be assumed that they might also end up buying the rest of the German market, like BMW and Mercedes, and slowly consolidating into one large auto behemoth. Perhaps the Americans might consolidate all their autos, and the Japanese too, and perhaps they might all eventually merge together or buy each other out, similar to what happened with Yahoo. And, like Yahoo, they're also lacking the technology. They aren't capable of making their own batteries. Nothing substantial like Tesla are able to. They also lack the FSD technology. Therefore, this multinational umbrella of auto brands would need to also purchase a battery manufacturer and an FSD company. They would eventually evolve into an EV company with a lot of restructuring and write-offs. It's possible they have survived long enough at this stage and are still running the business somewhat on their legacy revenue. There will still be ICE cars on the road that need engine parts, for example. One issue is, though, they have dozens of brands, and different customers are loyal to different brands. But there'd be no way to make so many varieties of EVs for every given brand. They could only possibly choose some of their best performing models from each manufacturer, such as the BMW 3 Series for a premium sedan, the Ford F-150 for trucks, the Toyota Corolla for an affordable sedan, a Volkswagen Golf for a hatchback, a Mercedes S-Class as luxury. I think you get the picture. The models they offer would have to dwindle dramatically, as they need to have economies of scale. If I recall, it didn't take long until Google owned 80% market share of search in the US, and the remainder Yahoo had was under 20%. Of course, Google visitors were also far more valuable than Yahoo visitors, just like Tesla would have a much higher profit margin than this newly consolidated auto company. And the company will have customers. Some people will be brand loyal until they die. Hey, some people still use Yahoo as a search engine. These people are known as Luddites. But Yahoo's share dwindled and dwindled more, particularly when younger generations grew up and knew nothing other than Google, just like millennials and younger generations these days. Ask nearly any of them what car they want. It's obviously a Tesla. They're not going to grow up coveting an antiquated Volkswagen. And just like how some people tolerate Yahoo's inferior search technology, these Luddites will also accept BMW or whomever, despite them having slower FSD and a shorter range, slower charging speeds, and lack of features that most people can no longer live without, just like they tolerate Yahoo's less accurate results. And their market share will slowly dwindle over the years as more of their customers are no longer fit to drive, and more younger generations are old enough to drive, or be self-driven. But when the market is established, there may be another competitor come along that has a lot of money and has a brand germane to the industry, who has researched how lucrative the industry could be for them, and will throw an enormous amount of cash and just make their own EV, just to get a slice of the pie, as it's so profitable. This is what Microsoft did. They were very late to the game in search, but their brand was apt enough to be relevant. And eventually they bought their way into the search market and created a new search engine called Bing. They had the operating system to back it up, and threw a hell of a lot of money at it, and advertising too. It was obviously vastly inferior to Google, but it worked. They somehow scored some of the market share of the incredibly lucrative search market. I think it was perhaps 5% or something, but it's still a big pie to be a part of. Funny, Microsoft did a similar thing to mobile operating systems too by buying Nokia. But seriously, how did Microsoft miss the mobile OS market? Operating systems are their bread and butter. Must have been Ballmer in charge back then. I doubt Gates would have let that one slip through. And when it comes to EVs, I think we all know who would be the juggernaut company that simply buys their way into the industry in this scenario. Perhaps Apple throw $100 billion at it or something ridiculous, and eventually come up with a range of Apple cars. They may only establish a 10% market share, but it's still a reasonable return on investment over time, due to it being such a massive industry. There were also a few other search engines that made it through to the other side. AskJeeves.com, for example, that renamed to Ask.com. They were purchased by AIC Interactive. I had shares in Ask Jeeves too. That was my only ever 50-bagger. So it's possible there may be one or two EV brands that do make it themselves, perhaps Polestar or Rivian. We also have DuckDuckGo, a search engine that doesn't track you or invade your privacy. So perhaps there may be an EV that doesn't track you or have FSD or anything like that. It's a niche that perhaps some people might like. Oh, but what about China? I'm completely ignoring the Chinese competition, like Neo. Right, sure. Well, that's very interesting actually, because in this scenario, Google didn't make it in China. They had some presence in there for a while, but eventually gave up due to the Great Firewall of China. Instead, we have the Chinese search engine called Baidu. So if history plays out, then that might mean that maybe Neo, BYD, and the others just stick to China. It's a large enough industry. Westerners don't like using Baidu for search, so they may not like using Chinese EVs as autos. And perhaps within time, China will eventually stop all of Tesla's operations. But Yahoo actually still has a reasonably high market share in some countries, like Japan, nearly 20%. So internationally, outside of China, perhaps Tesla will have something like a 75% market share. EVs are a tech industry. This is generally how tech plays. Most of the time, there tends to be a huge market leader, then a few smaller players that are coming along for the ride. Just like Google, massive market share with a few others in niches and different markets. However, there might be a few other hurdles for the incumbent automakers, like who's going to sell them FSD, and what battery company are they going to be able to purchase that can scale at the size they want. All the battery companies would be larger than them anyway. Most of the major battery companies will have a larger market capitalization than them anyway. On the other hand, what other customers will the likes of Mobileye or QuantumScape have, other than this amalgamated auto company? Perhaps they'll all have to merge, although QuantumScape's batteries won't be scaled for at least another 10 years, if they can even make the necessary breakthroughs. The legacy autos will struggle to stay afloat that long, and Mobileye is owned by Intel and may not want to sell. Wow, I really do struggle to find any possible way that these legacy auto companies can transition to the other side. I've tried so many scenarios. Anyway, I'm not saying this is exactly what will happen. I'm merely mapping it on to something that did happen and running through how it would play out. Thanks for listening. Please hit the thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe.